Nigeria's Minister of Power, Salim Ahmed, has blamed power distribution companies for the poor state of electricity supply in Nigeria. To this end, the minister said that he has recommended to the Federal Executive Council the need for a review of the subsisting contracts of the distribution companies. According to him, the government will be offering a chance to take over the entire value chain of generation, transmission, and distribution to Siemens, a German-owned global leader in the industry, if a decision is reached to strip the current investors in the distribution end of the value chain of that responsibility. This, in his opinion, will eliminate the leakages that continue to deprive Nigerians the satisfaction of having value for money in the form of constant supply of electricity. This morning, we'll be taking up this matter with Chief Sunday Odunton, Executive Director of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors. How economically sensible will it be for government to undertake this proposed course of action without first putting in place an operational template that will ensure consistent investment in infrastructure necessary for the distribution of electricity? Would this be just another motion without movement, whereby one set of portfolio investors will be handing over to another? These are some of the salient issues that we'll be seeking answers from him, from Odunton this morning. And as we leave that conversation, we'll move on to matters of national security. And our guest for that topic will be retired Major General Adewunmi Ajibade, security specialist and consultant. He's a former director of military intelligence and former deputy national security advisor. General Ajibade will be offering his perspective on the origins of the current spate of insecurity in Nigeria, how the anti-terrorism fight could be fought and won, the role of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the face of asymmetrical warfare, the new national security strategy, the role of propaganda and counter-propaganda, and other angles to that conversation.
And still on security, we'll be moving on to talk to Dr. Ona Ekhomu, a security expert and president, Association of the Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria, as well as Dr. Kabiru Adamu, Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited, a firm providing enterprise risk and security management. Together, they'll be looking at the continuing closure of Nigeria's land borders and the reported drop in the influx of small arms and light weapons as a result. And as we wrap up, it'll be time to take a look at a report on the ban imposed on commercial motorcycle and rickshaw operators by the Lagos State government. We'll also catch up on news making headlines across the globe, review the newspapers with Arise News analyst Emmanuel Ofeni, and catch up on headlines from a busy weekend of sports by Arise Sports analyst Aaron Akerejala, not forgetting our early morning business day starter with Arise business correspondent Rotas Ojiri. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin in Nigeria, where Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, MDCAN, has restated its resolve to begin a nationwide strike from today over the refusal of the National Universities Commission, NUC, to withdraw its circular demanding that clinical lecturers and medical schools must possess a PhD degree as a prerequisite for career progression. Addressing a press conference in Jos, the consultants who had given an ultimatum to NUC since January to withdraw the circular said there was no going back on the strike, which will involve total withdrawal from teaching undergraduate medical students. It, however, said it will continue to attend to patients in the hospital. Well, this is most unfortunate, isn't it? I mean, there has been a little bit of an olive branch, it appears, that was extended by NUC saying that, no, the PhD is not required, it's merely desirable, but MDCAN is insisting that the strike must go ahead, and they feel very aggrieved by this prerequisite that was mentioned in the circular. What needs to be done is for that circular to be completely withdrawn. It's not enough to have this qualification that's not what the circular meant. It has to be rewritten properly, if at all that is the intention. Because what the bone of contention is that a PhD is not necessary to be an effective lecturer, that the fellowship that you gain as a resident is as rigorous, if not more, than a PhD. So they find it very discouraging to now be told that their progression in their careers, chances of promotion, and what have you, depend on having a PhD.
Well, let's look at it. I mean, the job of the National Universities Commission is to set standards, maintain standards, provide accreditation for courses in the university system in Nigeria. That's its primary mandate, and it does that on a regular basis. And it's within the province of its mandate to issue directives in terms of these standards or in terms of qualifications for quality staff, either in terms of student-lecturers ratio or in terms of the qualifications of the lecturers themselves, or what they call the carrying weight, in terms of students-lecturers ratio. However, in this particular case, I think what we're dealing with is a problem of communication.
Yes, is
because
so?
When I read the story, I could see that, what the executive secretary of the NUC would seem to have said does not really contradict the overall objective of ensuring standards within the university system. So what they need to do is to, sit down and try to take another look at that circular rather than insisting on going on strike, which could have implications for the teaching of undergraduate medical students in a country where, in any case, we don't have enough doctor-to-patient ratio. And the ones that we produce are victims of regular brain drain, even if one minister was once quoted as saying that doesn't make any difference. But what I know is that within the university system, you need a PhD. A PhD is a primary qualification in academia for you to be able to teach, either in the Faculty of Medicine or elsewhere. But I think that at a point, an exception was made for the Faculty of Medicine and also for the Faculty of Law. You see a lot of professors of law who do not have PhDs, yes. And they are also allowed to practice. The same also for doctors, because their work is enriched by their practical experience.
This is what they mean by
yes, because it's not just about research. So you have some professors who are already fellows of the West African Council of Physicians, West African Council of Surgeons. Some of them have, similar qualifications from abroad, and, they've risen through the ranks. So, but a PhD helps. And what that story was saying is that if you have a PhD, it could facilitate your career progression. Because if you have a PhD, you don't start as a graduate assistant or as an assistant lecturer. You start as lecturer 2. And if you have published a few papers under lecturer 2, there are grades. If you have some papers, you could be lecturer 2, grade 4, which is better than somebody lecturer 2, grade 1, right? But even that original idea that academics should have PhD as minimum qualification, the Nigerian government in times past used to provide support. Within the university system itself, there were scholarships, there were grants, there were, intradepartmental training for people who wanted to get PhD. Research grants were regular. All of that, nobody is providing all of that. So if you insist on improving or increasing the number of PhDs, not just in Faculty of Medicine, but within the education system generally, then the NUC should also engage government to provide opportunities for this advancement. Because the whole idea is to promote knowledge, right? And to promote competence. So, but we don't see that happening. Now, this is the issue with the Medical and Dental Council at a general level. But we also know that there are issues with medical and dental consultants in Nigeria at the level of payment of arrears, at the level of payment of salaries and allowances, which was the issue at the Odumegwu Ojukwu University Teaching Hospital recently, when they had to go on strike for about 6 weeks because their arrears and salaries and allowances have not been paid. And even ASU, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, at the university-wide level, is also protesting that government has not respected the terms of the University Autonomy Act of 2007. And so this year, we may also have the entire university system being shut down. Government must do whatever is possible to engage all these categories, either in the academia or in other sections, in robust, honest, open, frank negotiation and discussion. I think that's where the missing link is.
Honestly, because even though it's comforting to note that patients will not be affected, medical students will be affected by this strike, and that's really unacceptable. We hope that's resolved soon. Now, the Nigerian government is to investigate a video that has gone viral showing a manatee, otherwise known as sea cow, being dragged on the streets in Delta State. Minister of State for Environment, Mrs. Sharon Ikeazo, in a tweet said the government would probe the animal abuse and described the incident as a show of shame. The Delta State government also condemned the maltreatment of the animal and threatened to prosecute those found culpable. The Federal Capital Territory FCT administration has also vowed to clamp down on the illegal sales of endangered wildlife products in a move perceived as a precautionary measure against the outbreak of novel coronavirus disease, COVID-19. Manatees are occasionally called sea cows as they are slow plant eaters, peaceful and similar to cows on land. They often graze on water plants in tropical areas. Now, I didn't see the video, and I never will. The descriptions, oh, no, I just don't ever see no evil, ever. Delete instantly. I don't look at things like that. The descriptions, though, are distressing enough. And this call by the Delta State government to prosecute the offenders, I really hope that they do. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody being prosecuted for animal cruelty in Nigeria, even though we have our Criminal Code Section 495, but even that needs to be reviewed. The penalty is 6 months and or a fine of, guess how much? 50 naira. I mean, it needs to be reviewed. People need to go to jail because we do see these abuses constantly. And we're signed up to all kinds of things. Well, you know this very well. Nigeria, we love to sign every sort of convention and what have you, and we don't actually pay heed to any of this. Nigeria used to have, in Africa, the widest variety of monkeys and gorillas. Today, they've been hunted almost into extinction. It's really sad.
I agree with you. The law needs to be reviewed because the penalty is lenient, as is the case with several other provisions in the Criminal Code. 2, a lot needs to be done in terms of public sensitization to sensitize people. 3, you also have to address the challenge of poverty. You know, anything is a fair game as food for Nigerians, whether it's gorilla or monkey or bat or apes or anything at all. In fact, so bad was the problem that in 2008, we had to be taken out of the Convention on International Trade in endangered species, because Nigeria became very notorious, you know, for wildlife and animal cruelty. But let's hope we'll get there now that government is talking about it. We'll take a short break now. When we return, the morning show will continue. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with business stories is Rotus Odiri. Rotus, good morning.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. It was my birthday on Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So what we're talking about is how the coronavirus...
You know the implications.
Yes.
You still have to celebrate it.
Oh, of course.
We're holding you.
On standby.
We shall watch it. the coronavirus is still affecting global markets. Woke up this morning and saw oil prices, Brent crude, down to about $56 a barrel. It's been volatile. It touched 59 on the 19th of February, but it's back down again. It looks like the latest scare is coming outside of China, in particular South Korea and Italy. South Korean infections, I think they doubled over the course of the last 6 or 7 days. The New York Times, a couple of other global media outfits are tying it to a mega church. Funny enough, they say some lady infected about 1,000 or so people, and so you've seen a big spike in the number of infections coming out of South Korea, and it's worrying global markets. For Nigeria in particular, you know that our benchmark oil price is at $57 a barrel, and the oil, it's been hovering at around that level for a little while. If it goes below 57, we of course are not able to implement the capital expenditure recurrence and so on and so forth. So it's a worry. Even in Italy, I believe there was a number of Serie A games that were cancelled. And so you can look at how it affects, revenue for the Italian league over there. But these things, when you look at South Korea, you look at what's going on in Italy, they've caused markets to start getting very, very skittish all over again. So it's something that we continue to watch. 1 minute, we think that the number of infections have gone down. Markets start to get positive. The next minute, you hear of more infections somewhere else. Markets start to get nervous. And then you start to see the effect on oil prices, commodities, and so on and so forth. Besides that, moving to Nigeria, in about 14 minutes or 13 minutes, we're going to be getting our Q4 GDP numbers. Dr. Yemi Kale, Statistician General of the Bureau of Statistics, sent out a tweet, I believe, on Friday, saying that we're expecting Q4 GDP and full-year GDP. This is for 2019 for Nigeria. That's our gross domestic product, which is the market value of all goods and services produced in the economy. We've averaged about 2% in the first 4 quarters of the year. So because of the festive period, 2.28% for quarter 3. So if you look at that figure, we're not expected to really go higher than that. But then, it remains to be seen, because there was a festive period, the whole dirty December, party after party, people sending text messages, spending money, this and that. So we expect, at least for the economists that have been surveyed, expect that GDP should fall in line within that figure. However, there is still the fact that we're not growing as fast as our population, which is at about 2.6, 2.7%. So there's still that worry. But there we are, 2.1% Q1, 2.12 Q3, 2.28 in 2.12 in Q2 and 2.28 in Q3. And then our yearly GDP growth with 1.9% in 2018. You can see where we've gone. That's below from the recession. So in 2016. So we expect to see how that goes, and we expect those figures in a few minutes. But again, the overarching thing is that we're not growing as fast as population.
Well, whatever it comes up with, don't forget that the IMF and the World Bank have already projected that given external shocks and given the fragility of the Nigerian economy, we should not expect any growth rate higher than 2%
for the year.
in 2020. So what we expect is what will be done on both the monetary and the fiscal side to make sure that we're not experiencing a slowing down in economic growth, and how we can, deal with the shocks. As for coronavirus and global stocks, yes, markets will respond to anything, whether it's political developments or disasters or economic developments. And China, because of its connection, its strategic value in global economy, and particularly in the Asian region, anything that happens in China is likely to have a knock-on effect. But a report by BNP Paribas, which was released recently, indicated that while we do not know how the extent of the impact of coronavirus, it's not all about doom and gloom in the market. Some Asian economies are more affected than others, particularly in India, where the stocks seem to be doing very well, in spite of what is happening. And that even in China and these other Asian countries, what is affected are consumer discretionary products, manufacturing, travel and tourism. And that investors can look at other areas where they can, invest in the short term, particularly in retail marketing, for example, in the internet, telecommunications in China, for example. Those ones are still good. And that in the midterm, in technology, in energy, in manufacturing, once that picks up, once the epidemic goes down, those are the first areas that can pick up. And so investors can go in that direction and not panic. But that what may not pick up, when there is recovery from the pandemic, for the epidemic, may well be travel and tourism because of consumer behavior. If you know that there is an epidemic here, you may not want to quickly go to that community.
Thank you. I always appreciate a silver lining. We have to find one. Thank you, Rotus.
Thank you, Rotus.
We'll take a short break now. We'll be back with sports headlines. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with sports stories is Aaron Akerejola, Arise News sports analyst. I almost said Aaron the Baron.
I saw you know what's coming out from your lips.
I had to pause.
All right, Chidi, good morning. You're looking beautiful as ever. And Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
It was actually a very,
compliment for me.
No. It was a very torrid weekend for me, I must actually say, because I'm still trying to get over the devastating loss that Deontay Wilder suffered yesterday, and quite humiliating, because it's one thing to lose a boxing bout. It's another thing to lose in such a devastating fashion as he did yesterday in the 7th round. No one saw that. Okay, some people predicted that Tyson Fury was going to win, but no one expected that that Tyson Fury will completely literally run him over. ever since the first round, and this is it here, ever since the first round, seeing that Tyson Fury hit Deontay Wilder in his ear, on the back of his ear. Usually, in boxing, they always say it is not illegal to hit someone in the back of your ear, but that's the surest way to actually get your opponent, because what happens is simple. You lose your equilibrium, you lose every kind of standing. That was the same thing that Anthony Joshua suffered in his very first fight against Andy Ruiz, and Deontay Wilder was bleeding through his ears. He needed his team to literally throw in the towel. That was how bad the fight was. He had to be rushed to the hospital afterwards to have a checkup on his ear. There were talks that he actually ruptured his eardrum from that particular fight. It was really, really ghastly. And sad for him, this is a very tough time for Deontay Wilder. This is a man that wears his pride on his sleeves. At this moment in time, you will need to actually dig deep. This is what actually makes great fighters. George Foreman, it took George Foreman well over 20 years to be able to regain that title back, ever since he's lost to Muhammad Ali. Let's see what Deontay Wilder has in his corner. And talking about Deontay Wilder and what he has in his corner now brings up a whole lot of talk about with Tyson Fury, who has now become the WBC champion right now, the linear champion once again. This is a man who is on top of the world. He calls himself the Gypsy King. He came in a throne to the fight, and certainly he delivered like a king. Now, everyone wants to take a shot at Tyson Fury. As a matter of fact, a whole lot of people are lining up to take a shot at Tyson Fury, and he knows that right now all he needs to just sit back is actually cash a paycheck and decide what his future is. Of course, on one side is the fact that there is a clause in the contract between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder that says that there could be a potential Tyson Fury and Wilder 3. Let's see if Deontay Wilder will be fit enough to explore that option. Because if he's fit enough, everyone knows he'll want to take a shot at it. As a matter of fact, his team and the promoters of Deontay Wilder are saying that he's likely to do that. Anthony Joshua is on one side. His loss to Andy Ruiz Jr. meant that he was actually derailed and actually moved off the rail. Right now, Eddie Hearn is doing everything humanly possible to bring Anthony Joshua back to the focal point of heavyweight boxing. And that means that he would have to, at some point, give up some belts if he's to fight Tyson Fury. The Brits want to see that fight happen because it's going to be one of the biggest fights in the history of British boxing, as a matter of fact. So let's see what happens if that fight would actually happen. And Dillian White also, the British man Dillian White, is on one corner also, who is the mandatory challenger to this belt that Tyson Fury is holding. So it's a lot to take in for Tyson Fury, but right now he's been partying till this morning, as a matter of fact.
The fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, I mean, was record-breaking in terms of returns, in terms of profit, both for the challenger and the loser. And you and I, we lost our bets because we thought it would be Deontay Wilder. But obviously, Deontay Wilder was not wild enough for Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury delivered. He made it happen. But clearly, Tyson Fury has his eyes set on Anthony Joshua. You'll recall that he had a gum shield on which was boldly written Nigeria.
Yes, he did.
With Nigerian colors. As if while he was fighting Deontay Wilder, he was already looking ahead to Anthony Joshua. And I think that Anthony Joshua should not take that lightly. Now is the time to begin to also look ahead to that challenge by Tyson Fury, who is, without any doubt, number one, in the world today. And that their fight, was clearly record-breaking, not just in terms of, returns, profit, but also in terms of the technicality and the emotions, that attended that challenge. However, Anthony Joshua, I guess, will still have to fight Kubrat Pulev. Before
the mandatory challenger of the IBF title.
Before he meets Tyson Fury. But the question again is, when they meet, the Brits, they are already saying the fight must be at the Wembley Stadium. But if they want to make more money, they probably will be better off going to Saudi Arabia, where there is
as a matter of
more
fact,
money.
Right now, I think Tyson Fury will decide where the fight is. Of course, Tyson Fury was born in...
He says he doesn't care about money.
That's what everybody says.
That's what everybody says. He got about £40 million from this.
Because the point is this, he's from Manchester, and he favors going to Manchester. Of course, we know Manchester actually have a big stadium in form of the Old Trafford.
Aaron, thank you.